There you are. Oh, I thought we'd have to do the show without you, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting will be a thrill. Grandpa and chill, grandson and friends. Podcasting Grandpa and chill will be a thrill, grandson and friends. With your hosts, Grandpa Barton, Brandon Fox, Phines Jackson, and Sierra Dawes. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Anything new going on, Grandpa? Anything new with you this week?
The only thing really new is my wife's son, my son-in-law, is interested in doing a podcast, and he has friends. He says that are like professional athletes and so forth, and hopefully, Finus. No, I'm sorry, not you. Sierra will be able to maybe help me with getting online, getting set up at some point. But we went out and bought some equipment for him and see what happens.
You're a hot commodity in the podcast game. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Is
He's creating his own death
Is it a? Do you feel like it's your golden voice, or are you moving and are you willing and dealing? Are you getting yourself?
I'm not going to be involved in his podcast. I'm only trying to help him with the equipment and getting it set up. I'm not going to be involved.
Oh,
You're just the connect. Yeah. You're the connect.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Connecting. I see.
Nope, this is the only podcast I'm going to be involved in.
All right.
At this point, anyhow.
Okay.
So how about you guys? What about you, Phines? What has been going on with your life?
What has been new for me this week? A lot of stuff. The Heat beat the Bucks. That's the NBA. That's not me. Me personally, I'm reading this book about the Dalai Lama. It's a bunch of people interviewing about Dalai Lama's life. So I'm learning a lot about Tibet and China and the relationship between that. I had no idea. I mean, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Let me see. What else? There's news going on. There's craziness always going on. I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist. It's an anime. I've never watched it before. I'm enjoying it so much. I like alchemist stuff, so that's pretty good. All right. You say what?
It's the best.
It is. I'm very impressed so far. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't believe my friend told me to watch Brotherhood first. And he's like, oh, just watch Brotherhood.
Yeah.
But no, what? No, the original was great. I'm having a great time.
It does a lot of nice, interesting things, but the full experience is Brotherhood.
I can just watch both. I feel like, or is it you can't? Or what's the difference? Is Brotherhood just like the same thing as?
So Brotherhood follows the manga. So like the whole entire story, beginning to end, it follows the original piece, and then, but that came out. But that was the second series. Full Metal Alchemist is the first series. So either the manga wasn't finished when they did it, or they just like decided, they just flipped a coin and like did their own thing. But basically after like, I want to say episode 4 or 6, it completely dives off into something else.
Are you serious?
It's completely, it's wild. It doesn't have anything to do with the original story. Completely.
So I'm wasting my time. So I need to do Brotherhood, huh?
You're still gonna like it. Like, it's not bad. It's just completely different. Like when I only started watching it one day, I was like up late and Toonami was on, and one of the final episodes of Brotherhood was on Toonami, and I was like, this is just crazy. This is a crazy show. Like, what is this? I gotta find it. And so I would, like, my child self was on like Google, like, what is this show with a boy with like one arm? And so I found Full Metal Alchemist. I found the other series, and so I just watched that for like 3 weeks, and I was like, nothing I saw was in here. So I accidentally watched the first one. It's like way shorter.
Yeah, that's why I heard the Brotherhood. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that.
Sierra, is that on Netflix or on
the channel? Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Clearly, Brotherhood is the one.
The 4 of us to start an anime cosplay team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put Grandpa in some interesting costumes.
Man, that's the only reason I grew hair for it, so I could put it into some fancy ponytail and cosplay with it.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry to interrupt. Wilson said that he would be on at 3:15, so I don't know if
Wilson
he's...
is utterly here. I was just about to say hello, Wilson.
amazing.
Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm doing great.
Amazing.
Are you an anime guy, Wilson?
I'm sorry, say again?
Are you an anime or manga or any type of that? Fans
No.
of any of that type of thing? Any
No.
animation in general? Like
None at all.
Okay.
I got one for you, Wilson. We were talking just a little, me and my grandpa earlier, of sort of what we wanted to deal with today, because I feel like we got a good split of millennials and silent generation.
Okay.
And I was wondering what I got a couple questions. First one is, what is one piece of advice you would give to my generation of people? And I'll ask the rest of the questions later. But you and Grandpa, because I didn't get a chance to talk about it on the podcast with Grandpa. But
Well, I've been watching a lot of old TV. George Burns and Gracie Allen, The Untouchables. And one of the things that really stands out to me is that they smoke cigarettes like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the younger generation has moved away from tobacco, but I would certainly make that a don't do this to yourself story for everyone, particularly the young people, because you start young and then 20 years later it's too late.
yeah,
Is that advice?
I mean, I feel like it's cigarettes are down. I don't know. Grandpa used to smoke. Phines, did you never?
Mm-mm.
No, I smoked
I
cigarettes.
only smoked for a few years, from about the age of 15 to 22. And when your grandmother got pregnant with Lorraine, she would get sick from the smoke, from smelling the smoke. So I stopped smoking and she stopped smoking at that time.
I've been off of Marlboros for about 15 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats.
And glad that I don't smoke.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of kids our age, they vape. They don't really. I don't see a lot of cigarettes anymore.
I still see some and it weirds me out. I'm like,
Really?
where did you, like, whenever I see someone like remotely my age with a cigarette, I'm just like, where did you find this? Where did you get this from?
Yeah.
Saw like Camel in a magazine. Yeah, I feel like the vape is dangerous too, because you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and it's so casual. You know, you just like keep it in your hand 24/7. It's like being inside with a cigarette. Yeah.
I hadn't thought about vaping. That's way off of my chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it. I don't know. It seems more dangerous, or just as dangerous.
Yeah. I think the misconception. I mean, I had a friend who was like probably our age, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm just vaping. I don't smoke cigarettes. This is completely fine," for like a couple years. You know.
Yeah.
Was it hard to quit cigarettes, Grandpa, or Wilson?
No, not for me. I can quit things pretty easily if I just say to myself, I'm going to stop it, and I do it.
Wow.
I probably quit for 2 years before I quit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of quitting.
Yeah. Well, you failed a bunch of times before you finally succeeded.
It was I'm not going to do it anymore, and that age when there's alcohol and a bar, it's hard to not smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, have you been not drinking for a while too, or do you feel like
have a cocktail, but cigarettes are just so far behind me. And at one point, my daughter, to her, smoking a cigarette and smoking crack was the same thing. And that was a positive kind of inspiration.
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
that's funny. Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's so cool, so glamorized still. I mean, like even growing up in New Jersey, like the people seeing like everyone's like, oh my god, it's so bad, but also like at the same time they're like, yeah, shit, that person's really cool when they do it.
You won't see too many of the newer movies out with
Yeah.
steady cigarette smoking. You're not likely to catch a politician or an athlete with a cigarette in their mouth.
Mhm.
And I think those are all good things. But truly, in the 50s, smoking cigarettes was very glamorous. And
Yeah.
even the cowboy movies in the era, lots of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you started in the first place?
Oh man, I was in high school and trying to chase girls, and smoking cigarettes was the thing to do.
Yeah.
Boone's Farm wine and a cool cigarette.
And it worked. It made you cool. I mean,
Yeah, right.
How did it help with the chasing?
I don't think it helped at all.
Yeah.
Girls don't like the smoke in their hair. Nobody wants to put their tongue in your mouth.
Yeah. Oh God.
It's a non-starter.
You're right.
And it goes two ways because, it's not pleasant being around a female that's all smoked up.
Yeah. So it was the media that made it so cool.
Yeah, and the people that make cigarettes.
Yeah, and I guess the addictiveness to it too. That part doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And there's still money in tobacco and people that grow it for a living. I live in North Carolina, and there's some tobacco farms here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like if I was them, it sounds like a dying business. Probably start growing marijuana if I was them.
I believe that's the money, the money crowd of tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm like, it seems like people are. It's like what you were saying sounded to me. I was thinking like, well, that seems like the equivalent of like people smoking weed now because it's like in all the movies, all the young kids are doing it. It's it's very like glamorized, and it sounds like what cigarettes are kind of to the old movies, right?
I would kind of agree to that. I also think that you can't smoke as much weed as you can tobacco.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very different effect.
And a very different effect.
Yeah. I was listening to something about like back when scientists used to work on getting like the astronaut getting like the what's it called a spaceship to the moon, and they were smoking cigarettes all the time because it keeps them awake and keeps their mind going. And I could not imagine them smoking weed and trying to do the same thing. It just be it wouldn't.
Which button was I supposed to push?
Right, that's hilarious. Oh yeah. Well, that's good. All right. Well, cool. Yeah. Don't smoke tobacco. I take that. I'll take that wisdom. Very good idea.
Well, Wilson, we've got another caller on the line. Do you have
Okay.
any last thoughts?
I don't. I appreciate you guys allowing me to participate a little bit. I wish you continued and favorable success.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Always nice
Bye-bye.
talking to you.
All right. We've got John. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, actually, despite the weather.
Oh yeah, what's the weather doing where you're at?
Well, I'm out in New Jersey, and it's been very bipolar here so far.
Ooh.
Like one day it'll be really hot, then maybe at nighttime it'll start raining. Had a couple of hurricanes actually, power outage like for a week. So
Oh man.
yeah, a bit of a nuisance really.
I'm losing Brandon's audio.
Oh,
Brandon, are you saying words?
Brandon,
He was. Yeah.
say words, Brandon. You can do it.
Nah, he's gone. Nah.
Wow, John, you've done it. You've made him speechless.
Well,
Congratulations.
that was quick.
Yeah,
That was very.
yeah,
So kind of New Jersey, I guess.
that's what it was.
You're working
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
Yeah,
There
Okay.
you are. Wow.
Now you're on.
Whoa. Whoa, that was crazy. I got so excited about New Jersey, I broke my
Yeah.
microphone.
That's fine.
Oh man, I was saying, yeah, my parents are from Jersey, and there was an earthquake, and I've never ever experienced an earthquake before, but it was like 3.6 or something.
Yeah, that was unusual for Jersey, I would say.
Where are you from, Jersey?
No, actually, I'm from London, but I moved to New York, and then I just moved to Jersey about a year ago.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, it's still really close to New York, though. It takes like 30 minutes to get to Midtown, so I can still work out there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Where are you guys right now? LA or
Oh, LA. Wow.
no?
No,
New York,
I'm in
New York
New
City
York.
for
Yeah,
me.
I'm in New York.
Ah,
Yeah,
I got you.
Chicago.
We all wish we were in LA right now, I believe.
It's on fire. I'm all right.
This is true.
Yeah.
Man.
So the question we're posing today is, if you're from more the millennial generation or the silent generation, what advice would you give to the sort of other?
The other,
If
the younger
I'm
ones.
part of the
Other
to the
gen-
millennial generation or to people after the millennial generation, because I'm a millennial myself.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for the silent generation?
For silent generation, I would say that adults aren't always correct. A lot of the time when you grow up, a lot of learning is unlearning. So take everything as a pinch of salt. Maintain a critical thinking aspect out of life, because you're going to get a lot of information and it's going to seem like that is the complete answer, but often it is not. So take everything as a pinch of salt and really study critical thinking. I also recommend debate terms like fallacies, for instance. Like I always thought that during the presidential elections there should be a moderator that actually yells out "Stop straw man argument, stop ad hominem," that sort of thing, so we can actually get a proper debate going. So a lot of the times they attack the person instead of the argument. So I
Yeah.
feel like I would tell them that, first off, study those fallacies and then intake information from there.
Where do you feel like you've learned this methodology? Just life itself, or?
Well, actually, I bumped into a book actually like a few years ago called just Critical Thinking. And as I was reading through it, a lot of these things I did learn from life, but it was very helpful to have it defined and written out for me. So from there on, I stopped, or I caught myself whenever I have like an opinion that is backed by emotion. That's something that I've managed to separate myself from a lot more easily, because I actually know critical thinking by textbook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're sort of bombarded today by so much information that you have to be good
Exactly.
at filtering out a lot of things and try
Yeah.
and keep
Absolutely.
balance.
Would you agree with
Yeah.
that, Grandpa? You think people from your generation don't do that enough, or should heed that advice more?
Well, I think older people are more stable in that regard. Most of them, they're not going to be as influenced as younger people from the media because they've seen, over the years what actually has happened uh, from from time to time, not necessarily based on what they're hearing from the media. So I think they have a better sense of what to expect. And it's just like, say, in the stock market, one day you'll hear how it's going to go up, and another day you'll hear how it's going to go down. And younger people, I think, tend to act on that more so, and older people would tend to just kind of keep a steady situation or steady foot on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah, I think the flip side that I
Sort of
didn't
like
get a
Fahrenheit
chance.
451 people. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Go on.
Like the book.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I
Um,
was just thinking there's a lot of people who are comparing today like 1984, but as Grandpa was saying, it's more like Fahrenheit 451 in the sense that we give up our freedom in placement of instant information and entertainment. And when we're bombarded that much from multiple outlets, a lot of the times us as millennials even, we don't know what to believe anymore. So you either kind of just become apathetic and separate yourself from everything, or you latch onto one side because everyone else is doing it, and you end up going down a tunnel of confirmation bias. I feel like the people that have already experienced things growing up, like boomers and all that, they've actually experienced it firsthand in real life. So they're pretty set a lot of the time in what they saw and experienced and what their views are. And a lot of the times there's a miscommunication between the two generations because the lack of understanding of where the other one's coming from.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying for sure. I wonder though, how do kids, this next generation, find real news then? Like what's fake and what's not, or what's yada 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 yada.
I even millennials, because I myself find, like Vinus is saying, that I tend towards apathy only because I get so frustrated at constant confirmation bias, whether it's from either side. Like I don't know what, like there's no more just pure news without a spin, so I have to devour so much information just to find like a middle ground of what's actually going on,
Well, that's what you have a brain for.
Yeah, and I think experiences help out too. Yeah. I think going out and instead of just listening, I agree. Like have a brain. Like instead of listening to everyone else, you actually have to you have to go out there and do things and learn, like if you're actually left or right, or if you're whatever you want, whatever you think you've taught is right or wrong, you need to go out there and do those things and figure out, oh, okay, this is right or this is wrong or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So do things. Yeah. Don't be behind a computer all the time.
What if you don't have a brain, Grandpa? That's my.
You follow that yellow book.
You got a big problem.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm not talking about you personally. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah, I'm more teasing, but I think that it's hard because a lot of a lot of news today, I used to take news at face value, which I'd say 99% of all news itself has a political leaning one way or the other, and then it's sort of like then you hear something that's the opposite, and it's like, well, what facts am I actually getting?
Yeah.
I briefly lost connection. My apologies.
It's all good. We can hear you.
Brilliant.
Sorry, what were you saying, Sierra?
I was just gonna say, I know digital literacy is a really big deal in schools, trying to figure out like what's the best age to start, and like teaching kids like just how to navigate the internet and computers in general, and then also trying to teach kids like as they get older, like how to identify what looks dubious and what doesn't. Like I know some schools are trying to do that.
Yeah. Man, that's got to be very scary too for the next generation. Is like, what if my kid gets on some type of extreme website and then next thing you know, they're out here like, I don't know, throwing up gang signs or something, doing something extreme because they found a brotherhood online. Man, that sounds awful. Yeah, they should teach that literacy.
There's a lot of people that are on the fringe, you might say, that partake in the internet and use it to espouse their views, but a lot of them are crazy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the radio station, like pirate radio, like back in the day type of radios, where it was like people on radio stations just hooting and hollering about random stuff. That's how the internet is, times 1,000.
Now pirate radio is just 4chan.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
honestly,
Reddit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's good. Are you are you planning on having any children, John?
I actually have a daughter. She's 3 years old.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how you doing? How do you feel? You have her questioning everything? Do you have her figure out what water is before you give it to her?
Well, right now I'm just kind of talking to her like she's an adult and explaining everything I'm doing. She was premature, so I did some research, and apparently preemies their vocals are stunted, so she's not quite talking in sentences yet. She's more so mixing words together. So, but when I explain things to her just like she's an adult, though, I'm hoping that like maybe it will subconsciously ingrained somewhere, but not quite at the point where I have to worry about what she's learning quite yet. I mean, the other day though, when she was in nursery, she started, I guess, the national anthem saying "Under God," and we're not a religious family, not to get in that topic. And I was just kind of like, you don't have to say it if you don't want to. I'm not sure if she understood me quite yet, but like, I wanted to be able to just question me. I don't want to tell her what to do, but I wanted to be able to come home with questions when she is in school, and me being able to give my point of view without telling her that's wrong.
Yeah.
Unless it's like obviously wrong, like Hail Satan and all that.
Yeah. I like that idea. I would like to think the same thing if I had kids to come home and be like, I don't know about saying this and that. Yeah.
And a lot of the time, if you tell them something and you kind of do it with like a forced attitude, then as kids they're gonna want to do the opposite just out of spite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
John, at what age did you come to the U.S.?
I came to the US when I was 9, then I went back to London for about 2 years, came back for middle school. So like, oh wait, no, that was a little longer. So 14 years old when I moved back. I was in Kansas actually for my high school career. I really hated it there. So yeah, I'm pretty much an American with a slight British accent. So
And what is your profession now? What type
I'm
of work do you do?
yeah. I do film composition for like short films, student films, all that, and I also produce for singers, artists, rappers, and all that.
What video camera would you buy today?
Oh, I don't do video cinematography. I just do. I write music.
You write music.
Produce.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's really cool. I mean, not that
thank you.
cinematography is not cool. I mean, that's
Do you do your own arranging or?
Yeah, I do everything. Like, because I play violin, piano, guitar, bass, pretty much anything with strings, except for the harp. And I had a composition background, but I also produce. I can make any genre. So like, I'm very versatile. So that's why I have a different set of clients for each, category that I need to maintain.
Wow.
I see. I do recording, audio
Pardon?
recording. I do recording, audio recording.
Oh, nicely done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, what kind of audio recording? Like for
Well, I've done
dialogue?
everything classical, country, rock, whatever.
Nice. So you're an
somebody's
engineer
interested in
then?
Having done, whatever someone is interested in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And are you an engineer then? Like an audio engineer, would you say?
So it's more of a hobby, but I'd say I'm semi-professional.
Got you. But you're earning from it, so.
Right. I've been learning, and I was always into electronics. When I was 14 years old, I built amplifiers and preamplifiers and so forth, and I kind of got away from that. And then later in life, after I retired, I got back into doing music and recording. I've always been.
That's an engineer mindset right there. If you actually built your own amps, that's really impressive. What do you do now?
What are you published on the internet or anything to listen to your music?
Yeah, I have a few links up to my own music. In terms of like the artists I work with, they own the song and I get royalties. But I do have my music up.
Yeah.
And what type of genre do you do?
So like my main genre or my most comfortable genre is like classical sort of scores like film. But after that, I'd say rock. I'd have to do a lot of R&B and rap music or trap music. That's my least favorite is the trap stuff. But yeah, my main genre I would say is it's like kind of rock and classical. Sometimes I combine the two, but that's the personal music I like to make.
Well, while you're here, while you're here for this second before you leave, you go ahead and give us your information so people can know how to get in contact with you.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
I would be very interested because I have a close friend who is a cellist from Denmark, and he's played for people at the Philadelphia Orchestra, and another friend who is a great composer, and he's a violinist as well.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's my main instrument too. I also actually have a cello song as well. It's a live recording called Lucy's Diary. If you, I'm trying to get that recorded properly though. But if you want to show him that one, see what he thinks of it as a cellist.
Yeah. Sure. And let me get your. Is there a way for you to send your information so that we can find it on the internet or whatever?
Well, yeah. Also, if you guys have a pen and paper, I can also just
Yeah, go
tell
on.
you how I'm
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I have it.
Brilliant.
Yes, let's
It's
go.
REO, just one,
REO.
and then
I
ZAN,
ZAN.
and that's it. If you just type in that on YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, I'll come up.
How do you say it?
Rayozan.
I'm gonna have to get the information from you, Phines or Sierra, because I didn't. My hearing is not great. So
Oh, it's all right. I got you.
I got
okay,
it.
all right.
Yeah.
Nice.
We can also
Okay.
put a link in the description of your stuff. So
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Nice that
you.
you're interested.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, John,
Yeah.
we've got our next caller coming up, but thank you so much. Can't wait to check out your stuff.
thanks
Yeah,
for
good
coming
luck.
on.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me come on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
All
Take
righty.
care.
We've got Les. Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Puryear.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
What
How's
is
it going?
good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sound
Oh.
great.
Okay. I couldn't tell. No, everything's good. It's been a while since I talked to you. How's everybody doing over there?
All
All
right.
right. Good to
Yeah.
hear from you.
Doing
Yeah.
the doing.
Yeah. What's the topic of the day?
It's generational. We're basically the first question, and then there's a couple more if we get to it. But it's basically, what advice do you have for the opposite generation from you? And then just to get them out of the way, what do you hate about millennials? What do you love about millennials? And what do you think that you could learn from us? So those are the 4 things that I've actually been thinking about.
My goodness.
Oh yeah. And go.
Well, do me a favor.
Yes.
Define the age range today for millennials.
Wow. I guess what would you say? Like 20, it's
We'll
like
say what?
23 to 35, something like that.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
No, I just realized I'm not a millennial.
Yeah, me either. I'm a boomer. That seems to be a bad thing these days.
And it
Yeah.
always goes that way. We'll be the bad guys sooner or later.
When was the
Yeah.
first time you heard the phrase "Okay, boomer"? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard about it a couple of years ago or something.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, and now I hear, you're a Karen.
People say that to you personally?
No, no, I'm just saying that's a phrase I've been hearing
a
recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that just popped up, and my sister's name is Karen, and
no.
she is not happy about this. She said that she's going to change her name. So
She's gonna go talk to someone's manager about it.
what I want to know is who comes up with these things, and all of a sudden it becomes official.
Black Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Millennials. No, I think that's a good topic. Millennials are great kids. I mean, to me, they're kids. I've got my youngest son is 44, so I guess would that be a Gen X maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm really confused about all the
Yeah.
Yeah,
categories.
yeah, me
It
too.
changes among different lines for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. What I like about the millennials is that they are very, from what I can tell, they're very relational, I guess is the best word I can think of. They actually want to interact with people. The way that they interact may be virtual or like this, or by their phone that's attached to their ear. I have this theory. I think that when the millennials get to be my age, my and grandpa's age, they're going to have
a neck that is their neck and their head is not going to be able to raise up straight. It's gonna
No,
it's
I
gonna
believe it.
it's gonna be
Oh,
be at
man.
this 45-degree angle. So
I might give that to you, man. That feels like it could. It's already starting to happen.
I
to
can
me.
see it. Yeah, no, I believe that. Yeah,
but I shouldn't say anything. I stay on my phone all the time too.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I'd be concerned, and which I wasn't when I was at the age that a millennial is today. At that age, I didn't ever concern myself about things like Social Security. They would seem like so far off. But if I was a millennial today, I would be concerned about the situation with, losing Social Security and other programs that we now have today.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about it right now. I
Yeah.
want to know
Well,
where mine's going.
You're more mature than a lot of younger people. They're
We'll be working
only
until we're like
50.
83, and then they'll be like, "You ain't dead yet." And then
Man, Grandpa, you got 3 years till you start collecting.
Yeah.
No. That's for our generation.
But that's a great point because I semi-retired and I'm 69 years old and still working probably 3/4 of the time. And if it wasn't for my Social Security, I wouldn't make it. So because I was in a profession, well, 25 years I was in corporate world, last 23 have been in ministry, and we don't get in ministry, we don't we don't get any pension. So it's all according to what you can hopefully save, and
Oh, wow.
that can be difficult. But like I said, if it wasn't for Social Security, I'm not sure what I would do. And do you get a pension? I'm sorry, I call you Grandpa. What's your name
Bart.
again?
Bart. 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 No, I don't have a pension, but I do get Social Security, and I have some other source of income as well.
Okay.
So I do work part time, and I do have another source of income. But when I was younger, I thought, Social Security is such a pittance that it would never mean anything to me. But as things turned out in life, it is important to me, and I think that there's right now. Of course, I don't know what's going to be the future, but right now it looks like they were talking about running out of the Social Security funds in a relatively short time. Now, there's no reason why they couldn't raise the rates and also take the ceiling off of Social Security for the amount of income that's earned.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but
yeah, because I was just going to say there were several years there when I was in the corporate world that I maxed out on Social Security contributions, and I don't see why that couldn't be raised. That would help, but it looks like they're going to raise the age too, I guess.
Well,
they've already done that,
did, right?
and they're
Yeah.
continuing.
Yeah, 67. You can go to the Social Security website right now and see what you're going to get. All right, what you put in and what you'll get monthly.
Okay.
But I know when I was, I'm sorry.
No,
I
I
know
just
when I
feel
was
like.
Brandon's age. I'm sorry.
Go
When
on,
I was
Grandpa.
Brandon's age or Phines' age and Sierra's age, that was the last thing in my mind to even think about. But things do sneak up on you, and it's good to know that you have it in the event that you don't have other sources of income.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point because when I was their age, all I was wanting to do was spend it, and basically, I spent it for 40 years, and then I got to being 60, and I looked around and I thought, I have no money, and so I took a part-time job with the post office, who we don't know is still going to survive or not, but. And so that helped to supplement my income, and I was able, the last 5 years of my working life, I was able to save a pretty good chunk, and that was Social Security and the part-time job I think I'll make it.
What do you think of this situation right now with what's going on with the post office? I know in my particular instance, there were 2 Mondays about a month ago when we didn't mail wasn't delivered at all.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I would not depend on the post office to mail any ballots. Let me just put it that way, because mail gets lost, mail gets put in wrong boxes. Sometimes, see, the thing that was happening with us is that we would receive the truck would come and bring us the mail to deliver, and they'd be there about 7 o'clock. Okay, so we would come in at 8, and all the mail was there, and so we could begin to sort it, and then, take it out. Would be on the road by 9 o'clock. But when I left the post office, the truck wasn't coming in till 10:30. And so they weren't even getting out on the road till noon. And yeah, once it gets dark, I mean, they're coming in. So
Well,
yeah,
all my life, they've always delivered the mail on time, and this last month was the only time in my life where I've seen that they actually didn't deliver mail 2 different Mondays in a row. And I think it's a very serious situation.
Yeah,
they're destroying the post office.
Yeah. Well, Bart, they've really cut back on their hiring. I know that when I left, that we were down 2 people on our routes, and we were having to double up on routes, which didn't help that. And when I left, I mean, that was another one that they didn't replace. So they've really cut back on that, and the revenues are affected by digital content, email, text, all that stuff that you used to actually have to put a stamp on an envelope. I mean, that's really lost a lot of revenue with, UPS and FedEx and all that guy and all that.
And
hurt.
the post office carries all of the government mail. Isn't that called franking? For without charging the government for it.
Yes, that's true.
And all that government mail.
Right, and the post office also carries, or at least up until the last year or so, when Amazon got their trucks, they cut a deal with Amazon to where they were losing money on every package. And the thing about it was that they were carrying all of Amazon's packages, and so where nobody worked on Sunday before, I mean, it was like a 6-day week. Now it's a 7-day week in order to get the Amazon done, and. So anyway,
but I see more. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I see more and more Amazon trucks on the road all the time making deliveries now.
Yeah, and that's going to reduce revenue also for a post office. Even though they were losing money, they were getting something in. So I don't know. It's just we'll see. Like I said, I think I'll go to my polling place, and that's where I will vote. Because, like I said, I know what happens in the post office, and I don't think I would trust that. But that's just me.
I think
I feel there's more mail-in ballots election than I think ever, right, in all of the history of presidential elections.
Yes, and this is probably the most important.
They're saying that the election results won't even be in by the same day. And Les, having worked at the post office, do you find it very coincidental that all of these things that are going on are lining up with November 5th or November, the election?
So you want me to be a conspiracy theorist, eh?
No, I'm just curious what your thoughts are
about the facts,
Yeah, no, it's I'm right there with you. It does seem to be very coincidental. It's going to be interesting to see. Like I think Bart said, or somebody, they will probably won't know who won until a week later.
Yeah.
And so that bothers me because a lot of things can be done in a week.
Well, California took 7 weeks, like from the time that they started counting the ballots to all of the mail-ins. It took 7 weeks, start to finish, in California. So that's a very, very long. I mean, you probably will get a picture within the first day, probably week, but for
It's a
everything to be
mess.
counted.
It's a mess right now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it
it's
is.
probably the most important election we've ever had in this country, and it's a mess.
So I have
In your lifetime or ever?
Ever. I can't say forever, but
I don't know about
definitely
ever,
in my
but
lifetime, yes.
yeah, I would agree with that, Bart, and mine too. So,
It's
um,
very sad that things are being damaged or torn apart. The institutions of the U.S. right now.
yeah, that kind of sounds like what they said in the '60s, wasn't it, Bart? It's kind of
Yeah,
bad that
you're talking
that
about the war,
well,
yeah,
we were kind of protesting the establishment, as we called it, right? And
right.
so we were trying to change the infrastructure and all that. So
But
I guess
that was the more
that's
liberal, not the conservatives doing it. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. But it's going to be interesting to see. I
Mm.
So would you guys be against um, doing this online then, voting online? Is there an issue with if someone was like, hey, you can do your vote online?
That is so
w-
terrifying. It is so
w-
terrifying.
Is it just as terrifying as the post office? Because yeah, I just got talking about all the issues the
More
post
so.
office had. What
More so.
it'd be quicker. We learn we have to
Well,
wait 2 weeks.
well, a lot of people bank online, and you have a PIN, and you're
Yeah,
talking about
I mean we
money
buy stuff
moving
too.
with brokers and bank
Yeah,
accounts,
I
and that
agree.
works.
I mean, it just seems like if all the stuff is you guys are saying is true, which it does sound like it's true about the post office and all the issues that they have and how terrible of how easily it can be manipulated and how easily it can be like fucked with. Well, that same thing with me voting online, wouldn't it? And then there's still more access for people too, because I mean, I think it'd be easier for people that don't have internet or don't have an address to vote at a library rather than by mail.
The problem, one of the problems with voting online or mail-in ballots is that one of the concepts of voting was that somebody went in a booth and no one else could go in with them, and they
Mhm.
weren't influenced. They couldn't be influenced by anyone. You
Hmm.
don't know what's going to happen if there is mail-in voting or whatever. So that's a negative point for mail-in voting. But which is more important, to protect people from the COVID virus and make sure that that they get to vote? The problem right now is that they just don't have enough polling. In many states, they don't have enough polling areas,
Yeah.
to cast your ballot, and
Bart,
that's
why is that? I mean, why is it less? Why are there less polling places now than there were 4 years ago?
it's just political, because if you're in a particular either if you're in a conservative area, and let's say you're in a conservative area, but the government is controlled by liberals, they're
Hmm.
going to try to cut down the vote, or vice versa. It's
Right.
Because it
it's
really doesn't make
politics.
sense because we haven't got our population has grown. You would think they would have more places to vote rather than less places
Yeah.
to vote.
But
Um,
see, the whole argument to me about it's not safe because of COVID. Well, then you might as well shut Walmart down,
yeah,
because there are a lot of people, more people closely together in Walmart than there would be in a polling place.
yeah,
So
There's no excuse for it. There's no reason not to have sufficient polling areas. It's just
yeah,
ridiculous.
it
But
sure is. I agree.
it's a political thing that some of
yeah.
the politicians are causing.
I, Still to go back to the online thing, even money wise and funding. Don't you think there's like more? Can we like put
I
like
mean,
Google or
like,
Amazon
so
and call
my
it and do all
you're
that?
you're talking about bank statements, my family, they got identity theft. Like, it made me realize how fucking easy it is just for someone to like leak your information,
Hmm.
and someone to move everything you have from like I mean, with I feel like if people that had a vested interest in fucking up our uh, uh, computers and were trying to target everything, like I don't think it would be that difficult to at least make a little bit of a dent.
Yeah, I agree. I
I
just
don't know.
I
What
think
do you think, Phines?
I
Would
just
you
think the
feel
pros
safe
and the
doing it?
cons. I mean, I feel between voting by mail or voting via the internet, I think they're essentially the same to me. And I think that if I had to pick one between the other, like I mean the risk of the two of like being like the issues between it. And I will probably pick internet because it gives more voices to people that are stuck at home, like anybody that can't really get outside to go, and people that can't. I guess you can do the same thing with mail too. Hmm. They both seem like the worst case scenario, but I think voting via the internet, it just seems more accessible for people. Yeah.
Well, the
In it,
problem with that is that, well,
hmm
one, a lot of people don't have internet. There's like thousands.
hmm
Yeah, I want to say thousands
That's true.
of people who don't have internet, like in the mountains and like rural areas and really trashy urban areas. They don't have access to internet. And also, um, all the studies say that, I don't know what's the content of the studies, but all the studies say that paper ballot voting is the safest form, even versus like the polling machines and stuff. Because
Whoa.
do you guys remember like maybe it was the beginning of this year? There was some little like mini scandal, I think, during the primaries about voting machines that weren't putting out the right information. Like you vote for one person and it would have the other person in there. There was like all this
Mm-hmm.
controversy during the primaries about the polling machines and can the polling machines be trusted, and the polling machines haven't been updated in so many years and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
they're old and unreliable. Like you even have that risk when you're going in person, but they're saying that like having just a straight up paper ballot, like if you could go into a polling place and just do a paper
You know what?
ballot, that would be
Yeah.
more
I
reliable.
agree. I bet it's a lot easier to hide 1,000 internet votes, but it'd be a lot harder for me to hide 1,000 paper votes. I do
Right.
agree with that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
should do both.
But the thing about the paper
Mhm.
votes is how you do the paper votes. Because I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the 2020 election with President Bush and I can't even remember the other guy's name.
Al
Al
Gore.
Gore?
Al
Yeah.
Gore, yeah, and the problem with the paper ballots and
Chads.
in Florida, yeah, the Chads. So,
The what?
but
What's the Chad?
The Chad. The Chad is, you know what a Chad is.
it's a punch card. You would punch your selection, and then the deal is that you would punch it, and then a piece of paper, would fold back on the other side, and so that's called a Chad. If I got that right, guys?
I
Well,
don't know.
Chad now
That's,
is a
that's
whole
correct.
nother thing for us.
Oh, is it?
So
Okay.
yeah.
But
It's kind of
it's really
apparent.
ridiculous that in today's age that we don't have a way to be certain that every person gets a vote, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
without
that
all
is.
the issues
Yeah.
and trying to create issues for an election,
Well,
it just
isn't it factual that there's a lot of people that are trying to implement voter suppression, like in our government?
Oh,
yes,
that's like
yes.
Yeah.
permanent. It's constantly
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, it's always been that way.
What is the solution? Like how?
Well, King.
I don't know.
King figure-
I'm in favor. I'm in favor of number one, you have to be a citizen of the country, and number two, you need to be able to have proper identification in order to get a ballot. Um, to me, I don't see. I mean, then just anybody can walk in, but they do check the list. But the only problem with the registration list is that they're so outdated. There are a lot of dead people on there and all sorts of things. So those haven't been cleaned up. So there's a lot of opportunity, for somebody who knows that so and so is dead, and they get a hold of their social security number or something, and then they register and they vote themselves and the dead person.
Hmm.
So there's all
Well,
sorts of
but
weird.
everyone gets a social security number, right? And
Right. Yes.
so if you identify yourself and you can show that your social security number, maybe they will have a photograph, but they, show social security number. Wouldn't that be a fairly responsible way to do it? If
Yeah, I
it's
think so.
social security, and then everyone that's over, I guess, 18 would have, an opportunity to vote.
Well, what do you think about the push? I don't guess it's going to happen this go round, but what do you think about the push to move the age back to 16
I,
to
I
vote?
never knew it was 16, but
No, it's not. But the Democrats were wanting to change it to move it back to 16.
I don't know if a person's 60. Some people would have the maturity and some wouldn't, but then again, some people that are 50 don't have the maturity. So I don't know.
True. Yeah.
I
Very
mean,
true.
I don't know. 16. Some of these 16-year-olds and kids that have nothing to do besides learn. They know quite a bit about what's going on.
I mean, it wouldn't really create any like huge uptick in like useless votes or like uninformed
mean,
voters,
I think it definitely helped liberal side because young people straight are super liberal usually. I mean, but that's probably why the right wouldn't want that to happen.
But
But
getting back to millennials, what do y'all think about? Are they conservative, or do they swing toward the conservative side, or the liberal side, or somewhere in between, moderate, or?
Well, Phines just said that they're more liberal, wouldn't you say?
yeah, I think they're either. I mean, I don't know. I guess neoliberal, liberal, or moderate. I don't think there's many I mean, I know there are a lot of conservative young people because they're probably far right, but then they're still in that close. That's still real liberal. I don't know. Young people are real extreme until they figure stuff out.
And
I
real
think
young
a
people
huge
are
problem.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, just the younger that you get on a voting scale, like the less people in any age range that vote. So like 18-year-olds are the least likely to vote out of any age in
Oh, I
like
didn't know that.
the US. And yeah. And so it's like, how do you fix that? Like,
Ooh, my conspiracy. It's my conspiracy time, guys.
Ooh,
So
let's hear it.
let's
my
do it, Sierra.
so my voting conspiracy theory is that at least my experience across the board has been whenever when I've been in a history class as a child, I get to learn about the Native American tribes. I get to learn about, all the indigenous people, the Jurassic period, whatever came before that, the hunters and gatherers, and then the Vikings. And and then randomly we switch and go all the way to Greece. And they tell me about Mesopotamia and where Rome came from and where Greece came from. And then we go to England and we learn about English history. And then we come back to American history. It's a weird train. And we go all the way to American history. Okay. But then you start at the beginning again. So the Native American tribes, the Pilgrims, some weird version of what Thanksgiving was.
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus, the greatest man who ever could be. All these great
National
history
holiday.
lessons. National holiday, man.
Yeah.
And you start with, when does America start? 1700s. You go from there. You keep going through the times. 1800s. Some weird version of Civil War history. Whatever happens after that, the 1900s, you kind of whiz by those. Nothing cool happened there, just, women's rights and all that stuff. So we cruise through there. And then it's like out of nowhere that you get to World War II. Sorry, you stop at World War II. Then you go on, and it seems like there's no time to talk about anything relevant news and history wise when you're in history class. It's like you spend half your life talking about the indigenous tribes. You go on to the Civil War. You spend a whole lot of time talking about really just the Holocaust, not even World War II. And then it's like 2 weeks before summer starts, they're like, now we're going to talk about Vietnam to present day. And
Yeah.
you don't really get tested on it. You can't really learn anything about it. And you don't learn about any of the more relevant political decisions. here and abroad that would help form your political opinion. And that's why we have low voter turnout, because you have to get slapped in the face by life as an adult, and then you have your own political opinion based on how shitty your life is.
Isn't that crazy that they put those like last 2 weeks right when everybody's thinking about like their beach trip? Like, like,
every time. Every time.
Who? Oh man, I haven't researched the at least in New Jersey, like the history of the superintendents and public school systems, but like like it seems very like mapped out in a specific way everywhere in the country.
And some places it's just worse than others. Like there's no like, oh yeah, this is like the top tier education where we learn this and this and this, and this is why I know.
It's all
I got to college and my professor was like, so listen, you guys know what happened with Vietnam, right? And we're like, no. Like 20 kids are like, no.
You know how hard it is to take care of like a bunch of angsty anarchy kids. You can't let them all be woke, because then you can't be a teacher. It's hard. You got to keep some sheep. That's at least the hope of it, I would think. I mean, it was clearly what's happening.
Was it like this 50 Grandpa and Les, like in your high school education systems? Was that the same experience?
Well, remember, I was in high school back in the 50s, in the mid 50s, and we pretty much, and I'm trying to recall back then, but we pretty much studied Philadelphia history, William Penn, and from 1776 on, we studied about George Washington and so on and so forth. But I was never great. I didn't have a great interest in history when I was young. Today, I probably would. But Sierra, did you study history? Was that your major in school?
No, I did like Spanish and television. So I actually ended up learning a lot about Spanish history or Latin American history and some Spanish history. But like I remember specifically in high school, I remember it was a whole 2 weeks and I was like, this all seems very important. This all seems rather relevant. It was like the 60s, Vietnam. We didn't talk about any of the racial stuff of the 60s. Just know that Martin Luther King existed, and it was like 60s, Vietnam. Nixon was maybe 2 days rather than like 1.
Man March is the only thing I remember.
The moon.
Oh my gracious.
Michael Jackson maybe, and then 9/11. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, in the 60s is when I went to school. I think Bart said in the 50s. Mine was in the 60s, and what we did is we would have 1 year of world history, and we talked about everything outside of the United States, and then the next year we do American history, and so we really got a good flavor, I think, of the foundations, of our country and things like that. Of course, it only came up to about the end of the 50s, so because that's as far as we were at the time. But and the other stuff, Bart and we lived through. So I guess we are history, Bart.
Yeah,
I'm learning more now about the racial history in the last few years than I knew anything about, really. I mean, I knew some of it, but very little. And more of it is coming out now, and which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Phines' conspiracy side is, I think history is just propaganda. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I love history. I love history. I love learning about things.
I just want to say every time. Oh, that lag. Sorry.
Brandon, I don't know why, but your audio and video are kind of out of sync and stopping and starting. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, every time someone brought up the word conspiracy, then they followed it with a very rational, good argument that made perfect sense.
Well, it tells you what situation we're in. But no, I think history is straight propaganda, man. Yeah. Like depending on what I read it from, whose perspective I read it from, it changes everything. I bet a lot of people in India don't know what the British did the whole time, or I bet people in Britain don't know what they did to India.
Yeah.
Probably the other way around. Yeah, I'm sure people there don't know what they did, and I'm sure we don't know what we're doing to people in different countries, and because of course, why would we tell our citizens
Yeah. Who would
that?
tell us?
Because that would make us bad students. Because then we're hip and hollering in class about how much we living in a lie.
Mm.
Well, fortunately, I think people are becoming more and more educated as time goes on. And
What I want to know is why would you want to tear down a Christopher Columbus statue? I don't understand that.
Because he represents a colonizing things, and
A
it
lot of
depends
his
on. Go ahead.
a lot of his reputation had been exaggerated by American history. Like he came to the Americas or the Caribbean as like a conqueror. Like he raped and pillaged to such an extent that he got, was it disowned or disavowed by the Spanish that sent him in the first place. Like once word got back to all the things he'd done, as far like he basically tried to commit. I don't know if he succeeded or not because I don't know the exact like definition, but he did his darndest to commit genocide once he got here to the Americas.
Yeah, well, that's information I didn't know, so that's good to know. One other is why Abraham Lincoln?
Um,
I only
well,
heard about one statue of Abraham Lincoln that people wanted to tear down, and it was just because the way that it was like kind of like the implication or like the energy, not energy, but you know what I mean, the message that the statue was like kind of displaying. Unless I think like the actual deep whole backstory behind building it, but just what you see from the statue, it kind of looks like a black person is like super ingratiated to Abraham Lincoln. Like it doesn't
Oh,
it
really?
looks a bit subservient. That's the only story I've heard about
Yeah.
a Lincoln statue wanting to be torn down,
I'm so
though.
sorry.
There
That's
could be
funny.
others.
Because then I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like Jesus and Abraham Lincoln,
uh
black man's two favorite things.
last
Yeah.
we do have another caller on the line. If you have any
Okay.
last thoughts.
No, I appreciate the time and you letting me come on. It's always a joy. So I hope you guys have
Oh,
a good
you're a
rest of your
great
day.
guest.
Yeah, we had a
Man.
really great
You're such a
discussion.
good guest.
You're
Yeah.
going to be muted, but you can stay on and listen if you want to.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I do, Sierra, I have a question though.
Hold on. Hi, Cassandra. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
We're great. Okay, what were you saying, Phines?
All right, here's my question. If you're a person that gets a statue made out of you,
Right.
at what point do you what do you do to get it knocked down? Like how many wrongs do you get? What wrong could you have done to get yourself knocked down compared to what good you've done?
More wrong than right, maybe?
Some raping and pillaging. I
That's
mean,
what I'm thinking. Yeah, I was thinking the whole raping thing would get you like knocked off, right? No
Yeah.
more statue of you. But what if you discovered a nation?
What did I do to discover that nation? Who did I exploit in order to discover that nation?
Well, not my people of that nation. Maybe so. Ooh, you never know what type of statue it is. You're right.
I saw Robert Kennedy just before he was killed, and the one thing that he talked about primarily was how badly we treated the American Indians. That was his main speech at the together when we were together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hope you wrote a check too.
Right.
I was making a facetious joke. I was like, oh, his sorry was like, oh man, that makes me feel better over here in this reservation. But our guest, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm not actually, I'm just listening
Oh no,
to
but
the conversation.
you're still our guest, and we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
I'm not super political, so I don't know really how much I can contribute, but it is interesting to hear your points of view.
Oh, that's all right.
You sound like you might be from England.
No, oh no, I'm not. I'm American.
Okay.
Well,
I
good.
wish
Good
so.
job.
I do love their accents.
Yeah.
The starting topic that sort of got us on all of this is I've been asking either millennials or silent generation back and forth, like, what is one piece of advice that you would give to the opposite generation? And then with that, what is one thing that you hate about the other generation, one thing that you love, and what is something that you might learn from them? So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
to bring it
So
back to a baseline. Yeah.
so one thing that well, my mom is in the older generation. She's 61, and I know she struggles with um like finding new jobs with her age range and stuff like that. And the one thing I dislike the most is how she beats herself up because her generation was known to, work at one place and be there for a very long time usually.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm trying to explain to her for my generation that it's not necessarily like that anymore. And I don't necessarily want to stay at one job for 30 years and retire. I want to get more experience and eventually do my own thing, not necessarily be with one company for such a long time or work for someone forever. So that's one thing that we do butt heads on sometimes. My grandparents as well. They also want me to stay at one place and get as much as I can out of it, but I'm like
It's
fighting
weird
that
how
internal.
it's weird how commonplace it used to be, but it would be like hell to just picture yourself like living your life on that desk or in that office, like you know that you're gonna retire there.
Yeah. And I
That was
have
the
coworkers that are, in the older generation too, and I admire them for being there for so long, but I can't.
Yeah.
what do you do and what do you aspire to do? Uh,
So I work at a manufacturing facility. I'm a
mhm.
process engineer, and I also project manage a major project as well. So my role is more behind the scenes, building reports and updating processes that help our shop run smoother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Hey,
What type of product do you make?
we do sheet metal manufacturing. So
wow.
anything from frames to sub assemblies. We do some electromechanical assembly, stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very,
Welding and bending and
Yes,
cutting,
exactly.
shearing, and yeah.
and
Yep, we
like
have lasers and punches and all that forming equipment.
do a lot of logistic work.
Yes. Yep, that too.
Good,
So I've
good
had a
field.
chance to learn a lot. It's a pretty
Yeah.
small company, so I've learned the whole flow, but I don't know what I want to do anymore. And it's hard to convince people that I don't want to be there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Mm.
great. It's great. I think I had a similar thing when I was leaving. I lived in Indiana, but moved here to New York, and it was
Mhm.
kind of that same thing of like, I don't know. I just want to go out and live life,
Yeah.
and I think so much of the like, I don't know. I don't want to stereotype the older generation so much, but I do think that like a big part of them was like getting a good job and working somewhere and raising a family was like that was the goal. And
Mhm.
I think this generation just has maybe a different goal, especially if you come from like
Yeah.
households that you see that and like you see a happy home, but that's to you as a kid is like, oh, this is just whatever, you know?
I do admire them though for being able to stay somewhere so long, being very loyal. I mean, you always want to be loyal somewhere, but it's hard. Our
Yeah, and they were
generation.
given health insurance was important,
Mhm.
and a pension and so forth, which not everybody offers that anymore. So
Mhm.
things have really changed in that respect.
Yeah.
It's very true.
I could barely see myself staying in a career my whole life. It's no, not
Yeah.
let alone working for somebody for my working life.
Did you work somewhere else besides? Did you change careers in your lifetime?
Yeah, I was in the medical field, and
Oh, wow.
now I'm not.
Mhm.
I miss
Mhm.
I miss it though. I get what you're saying. Like I miss it, and it's something like so romantic about like, oh, I've been a medical provider for 20 years or 40
Wow.
years, and there's something so cool to say something about that. But also, there's a lot of cold feet behind it too. That I'm like, I don't want to do this for my whole life. I don't want to
That's
hate
true.
this.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You don't want to grow to hate something that you've been doing for so long. And once you lose that passion, it kind of feels like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah. Maybe that's a part of the journey, though. You start hating it, and then you come back and love it, and then you're like, I've been glad I've been at this factory for 45 years.
That's true. That could happen.
It's weird with like jobs and stuff though, right? Where it's like sometimes I see myself of like, oh man, it would be so cool to say like I'm doing this. And then I was like, but I don't give a fuck about that. Like I don't actually, but I just want to say that I do it. And then you have to go back and like live that life, you know?
Yeah.
Like actually.
I feel like coworkers are a big deal to me. Like I feel like if I worked for like a small company, like maybe a restaurant, I could see myself working there if my like the whole crew was kind of like the same for years, and I
Mhm.
think I'd be fairly content. Um,
Well, what would
I
you do if you leave this type of position? What type of work would you like to do?
Well, right now I do a lot of face-to-face interaction, and to be honest, I like more of the behind the scenes, so building the reports and doing the data analysis, not so much face-to-face with people. And that's just part of me as well. I'm very shy sometimes when I don't know people, so it's hard for me to put on that face and make sure I'm fulfilling all of their needs as a customer of ours. So I would like to do more behind the scenes reporting and data analysis.
mm,
So you're not really a salesperson.
Correct. I am not a salesperson.
Mhm.
I wish, but I don't think that I don't know if I could ever do that. I've thought about it, but
oh, we didn't get your what advice you would tell the younger generation. You said the silent generation is what it called, Brandon.
Or boomers or yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Oh,
ah,
what
mm,
a
let's see. I think if they it's hard. I think of my grandparents and what I would tell them, and one of the things that I wish they had the chance to do was learn technology the way we did. Our generation grew up with computers and all of that, and it was it would be a lot easier if they already knew how to use some of that stuff. So I get calls quite often
Mm.
with,
mm,
This
issues here
podcast
and
is
there.
proof of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that would be one if they could be more in tune with technology, but I know it's hard for them.
yeah.
It sounds as though you don't actually do design work, do you? Or
No, it's funny too because I do like making things, and I did go to school for a little bit for my master's in design, but I didn't finish it because I realized that I'm not quite there yet to be able to do something of that degree. So I'm
Wow.
trying to figure out what else I want to do and maybe try on the side and then go back to school.
Wow. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Um,
so,
mhm.
what do you think of the situation today with the post office? I know that's a totally different subject, but I'm just interested in your feelings or opinion about that.
Yeah, I actually don't know too much about. I know that things are changing, and I've read articles about pulling the post office bins off streets and such. And I haven't really dived into the details of what they're really doing. I know there was a big restructuring of the post office, and of course, with the election coming up, it brings a lot of anxiety to a lot of people.
Mhm.
But it's hard. I don't really involve myself in that stuff too much, so I don't know if I really have much to say about it.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
I know if you don't have anything to say at the post office, you must have something to say about anime. What do you think about anime?
My boyfriend loves anime, so I'm more of a just kind of watching him from afar, enjoy what he likes to do.
Uh,
uh,
Yeah, he
I
collects a
felt
bunch
that
of
Phines.
anime
I
stuff.
really.
yeah. You said what? I'm sorry.
Is that how you pronounce it, Finest? Anime? I always thought it was
Oh,
Anime.
anime. I
No,
didn't
yeah,
know.
it's
anime.
anime.
No, anime.
Anime.
I've been to a lot of anime conventions, but I'm not one to dress up or anything, so it's nice to see like all the characters. I do recognize
Yeah.
some characters,
Yeah.
and it's fun to watch them dress up and
W-
stuff. But
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you? Yeah. Go ahead.
I know Brandon and myself used to go to what was it, Comic Con?
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
with
yeah,
Jared.
All
Yeah,
right, with Jared, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
that's cool.
Grandpa's great at Comic Con.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Not really.
Now it's so different. There's so many people. There's
Yeah,
too
it's
many
so many
people.
people. I don't think we'll ever have anything like that anymore.
I was
No.
just about to say I'm gonna miss it so much.
But
Mhm.
it's good. I'm
Conventions.
sure when we go there, though, I'm sure they'll have it at some point. But those masks are gonna be so like people are gonna do so many cool things with their little Comic
Yeah.
Con masks.
Mm.
Right?
And
People are already
yeah,
really
What do you
building
do?
it into
What do
their
you do for
costumes.
fun? What do
Oh.
you like to do for fun?
I play a lot of video games. Usually before the pandemic started, I like to go to Disneyland a lot and do room escapes. You know, I like to solve puzzles. I like
Mhm.
doing puzzles, anything game related. I'm
Oh,
really into. So that's more
Fun.
of my fun.
Brandon was one of the top was the World of Warcraft guys in the country.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah, that's cool.
I played for a couple months. Yeah. No, I got a really good score on one raid battle when I
You
was
couldn't get him
15.
to go
So
to sleep at night. He'd stay doing
Oh,
video.
late nights. I remember college was all about late
yeah,
nights
it
gaming.
was really nice.
That's
Honestly, fuck it. That was like probably best time of my whole life right there.
Yeah.
Like
You didn't have as much to worry about,
yeah,
and
I
everything in the
peaked
world
right
wasn't.
then.
Yeah.
yeah. I was talking to my friends about how close we were during high school playing Xbox together. Like that was like
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was the peak of my fun is when we were sitting there just chatting all day. And I'm really not that much of a gamer. I kind of like am just there for witty banter, and
Yeah.
I can kind of hold my own.
did
But
you play yesterday, Phines? I know that Sunny was having a thing. Were you a part of that?
what
The
games?
don't push the
No.
button thing yesterday?
Oh no.
No,
No.
wasn't
Oh,
invited.
okay.
I don't play. Yeah, no. I didn't
The
invite either. People don't invite me to game nights because I don't like games. I mean, I like games. I like board games. I like like Risk, and I don't like Risk in real life. I don't like Risk. I don't like war that much. You know what?
I
I
I
ask
can't
like
you
come
to
to
play
Taco
Risk all
Tuesday.
the
I don't want the
time.
tacos.
I
Yeah.
I like what you were saying, like puzzle games. Like if it's a
Yeah.
strategy game, like if it's some type of
Mm.
puzzle I can take apart and we can do that as a group, I'm okay with it. But if it's like other games, I don't want to play with y'all.
Do you what about like Monopoly? Does that
Yeah,
Monopoly counts as
Monopoly.
strategy?
Mhm.
Monopoly is strategy, but then I'm a Marxist, so
Oh,
I only
man.
can like so much of it. I can win it for the number. I like it because there's a number of the game to it. Like there's a 1 in 10 chance I always land on a railroad, so I probably could buy
Yeah.
a railroad. I like that type
Yeah.
of stuff, but I don't
Right.
really like.
You're a board game Marxist.
Yeah, I don't really like taking people's money.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
That's the best part. If you land on free
Oh,
parking, you get everyone's money.
I do. You know what? It is fun, but I feel bad. I'm like, oh man.
My guilt.
If
What's your guilty pleasure? I play
Yeah.
Monopoly.
Yeah. I like to explain to people why I'm gentrifying the neighborhood. I'm like, I wouldn't. Or
Oh,
bankrupting
look,
them.
a hotel.
Oh,
2
yeah.
hotels.
Uh, Cassandra, we've got our
Oh,
very
no.
last guest on the line. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. It was nice to
Thank you
hear
so
about your
much for
guys'.
coming
Thank
on.
you for
Thanks
coming.
for
on.
coming.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Joe.
While we're waiting for Joe, what
Joe!
board game would you guys want to
Joe?
play? Joe?
What board game can we play? Let's play Life.
Yeah, like what you don't okay, the game Life or like Life?
The game Life, not Life.
Okay. I've never played the
No, this
board
life
game Life
sucks. You
before.
want-
No.
The game of life is fun.
Katana. We can figure out how to. We need a D&D master. We could do D&D, but that's a whole thing. That's
Oh my! Imagine playing D&D with Grandpa. I feel like he'd be really good.
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
What is that? D and what?
D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons
No,
and Dragons.
I've never played any of those games. Brandon, how do you do against
A little bit betrayed. Joe didn't even.
other people?
Joe.
You know, seriously, do you still play those games today?
Wow.
Like World of Warcraft or any of those?
After high school, I really stopped. World of Warcraft is the one that I really didn't. I put it down when I was 15 and never touched it again except for like once because I really disliked that game actually. For like I don't know, like what it does. I don't know, like the dopamine addiction built
Well,
in
you were
really
hooked.
heavy.
That's
But
for sure.
He had to quit cold turkey.
There we go.
absolutely.
Yeah, he had to be done.
Hey,
Joe,
Hello.
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you. I've been listening, and
how
it
you
sounds
doing?
like I'm one of the silent generation millennials.
I mean, yeah.
You know,
Nope.
because I heard the young lady say that she moved from job to job and didn't want to stay in the same place at the same time. Well,
Yeah.
when I was growing up in my job, I had the only way I got a raise was to move to a
Really?
different job.
Well, give us some detail. What happened? What was your job?
Well, I started out as a sonographer back in 1971 as an ultrasound technologist, and
Oh,
no one really knew what it was and what you were doing. So the only way that you really got to increase in pay was to move to somewhere else who was further along on the research chain. So you had to move. You had to go to a different job. And so I moved all over the country, getting better jobs and getting higher pay until I finally settled down back in my home state of Arizona with a company that really respected what I had done.
wow.
So a
You
lot of
must have learned a
research, a
lot.
lot of fun.
I was gonna say you must have learned quite a bit.
I did, and I had a chance to work with some of the top world cardiologists at the time who were really trying to figure this thing out. It was a time in the 70s where medicine in the United States was probably at the apex of research, and they were really doing great things. That's all changed now, though.
Yeah, some crazy stuff. Ultrasounds are the things that you need crystals to run, or is that something different? I know ultrasound.
Yeah, you need crystals to run, and
Isn't that crazy? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it's insane. Everybody knows that ultrasound. They know the gynecology and stuff like that where it is, but they don't understand that hearts came first in the ultrasound chain. So it was an exciting time.
Yeah.
Of course, when I say I'm a millennial, I branched out at the same time. At the same time I was working as a sonographer, I was also working at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego.
No way.
Yeah.
Jesse Perez, I know him. He's the head of their MFA program right now, and I was just there right before the pandemic.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the tragedies of the pandemic is we've lost so many theaters that how are they going to come back? It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
One of the theaters in my hometown here in Gilbert is going to reopen again pretty soon, and so I was doing both things at the same time. It's
What
one
was
of
your
my plans.
capacity? Where did you work in Old Globe as an actor?
I
Or
was an actor. Yeah,
amazing.
the one play that I was in was with Leonard Nimoy when he directed the Man in a Glass Booth there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when they say moving from job to job, and also who was it that said they were gamer? I think one of the things that I like to do is to go on. I played World of Warcraft for almost 5 years there too, but I've been on the line. Go ahead.
How'd that 5 years end for you?
It ended for me with we went on a 40-man raid, and somebody got mad because the entire 40-man wiped out, and somebody yelled through the headset, "You just think this is just a game?" And I went, "Wait a minute, hold it. It is just a game."
Oh no.
That is so
Yeah.
funny. So poetic.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it ended for me, and then I went to Star Wars: The Old Republic, and that's what I've been playing since then.
Nice.
Ooh, I've never
Good.
played that before. It's
I'm
great.
glad that
It's
story
a
didn't end with like,
good game.
yeah.
I like to go in there and bet them 10,000 credits that I'm the oldest guy playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mind giving us you said Silent Generation?
Yeah, 77.
Oh, congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah, I went on the other night. And the guy says, "Well, I'll make it 20,000 because I'm 42," and I went, "You just lost."
That's great.
Man.
It's
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
were talking with Grandpa a little bit ago about how sort of he missed the coming into the computer age, being born into it and all that. And I mean, being immersed in like World of Warcraft, that's pretty in it.
Yeah.
well, I with being in sonography, I was kind of forced into it because that's what we were doing was putting everything together uh, with computers and trying to make sure that the sound waves were coming back to us and we knew what they were doing and putting that in the video and the sound and everything. You were kind of forced into computer work.
Yeah.
When you talk about ultrasound, I'm thinking of something like the clean jewelry or something of that nature. I'm not understanding where that plays into electronic equipment, other than like for submarines and so forth.
Well, actually, the ultrasound was developed from Navy sonar by a doctor by the name of Harvey Feigenbaum, University of Chicago. And what he did was postulate that since you could see ships with the ultrasound in water, you should be able to see organs inside the body with ultrasound. So he took an old Navy sonar and built it into ultrasound. Ultrasound was born then. And then from there, it went to looking at organs like the heart, looking at organs like a developing fetus, liver, and stuff like that. So now we can really see a lot of inside without actually going inside.
Is that like MRI?
MRI is actually quite a bit different. That's a magnetic resonance, whereas we're just using ultrasound beams. We're going in and bouncing them off and coming back. It's similar, but they're using two different modalities.
I see.
It's cool. I think ultrasounds are so cool.
They really are. You can watch a baby suck his thumb now, and you can actually tell what they look like when they're still inside the womb. And also you can do operations inside the womb that we can repair. We can repair hearts. We can repair all kinds of things that when babies were born, they usually die.
Dang.
It's so
So
cool.
technology is just absolutely amazing today. We really have it.
Yeah. That is so cool. It makes me think that if you see a baby's thumb, that means they have ears, whatever. That means they can hear you. That means I can talk to my baby way.
Oh, absolutely.
I can already be like, look, I've seen your ultrasound. I need to work on your legs.
One of the things that you can do is calm them down by placing headphones across it and playing classical music.
Wow.
They really calm down.
Whoa. Wow.
We can rails in music because he's plays the cello. Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you play heavy metal, they start jumping around. You can feel them move.
Wow, that's so cool. All with crystals.
What frequency does ultrasound operate at?
You would ask that, wouldn't you? About 5 to 10 megahertz.
Okay, so that's up in the shortwave region.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
I want to ask you before we're up, Joe. What advice would you have for the younger generations?
Same advice my grandfather gave me when I was growing up, that you have to understand that someone who does more than what they're paid for is soon paid more for what they do. It's one of the biggest advices he ever gave to me, and it's one kind of I set my life on. So I did more than what I paid for, and pretty soon I got paid more for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad gave me one other piece of advice, and that was that you have to understand this axiom, that there once was a man who thought he was better than I, and he was, until he thought that.
That sound like yeah.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah.
It's kind of two little axioms that my parents and my grandfather gave me that I've looked at for a long time, and kind of that's what I led my life by.
The
And
first one sounds like cause and effect.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Meritocracy.
Mhm.
Yep.
Wow, so cool.
And I worked up. One of the funniest stories that I got about my dad was I grew up in a garage, and I was washing parts in diesel fuel. One day he came walking by and he said, I looked at him, I was about 7 years old, and I said, how much am I getting paid for this, Dad? And he stopped and he says, wait a minute, let me ask you a couple of questions. He said, do you eat breakfast this morning? I said, yeah. He said, what'd you have? I said, bacon and eggs. Who made it, Mom? He said, how'd you get here? And I said, I rode with you in your truck. He said, my gas, my truck, right? Did you sleep in a bed last night? Yes, sir. Did it rain on you? No, I slept in a house. He said, well, you've been paid very well, so now go back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we don't appreciate every nut and bolt and everything that mankind has done in society.
We really live in a charmed and a wonderful time when we have so many conveniences to do. We have a computer that we can get anywhere we want to go. We've got air conditioning, especially in Arizona, so you don't have to go out on the porch and wrap yourself in a wet sheet and pray that the sheet dries out. It doesn't dry out before you get to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things that we're blessed with that I don't think we realize how good a time we live in.
But are
Yeah.
people less stressed?
Are people less stressed today?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think they're more stressed because they have so much and they don't appreciate what they've had before. I look at what my grandfather had, and it wasn't much. I look back at my great great grandfather, and he and his wife had to travel from by covered wagon. I'm that old, yeah, but so when we can just jump in a car and run down to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are a lot more stressed because they think they need more, and yet they don't.
Yeah. And I think that whole access to knowledge, we know more too, because like, yeah, no, like I'm thinking about right now that since the dolphin uses ultrasound, that they'll be able to find out that I have a heart murmur from in the water and then weed me out.
They're a lot smarter than we think they are.
Oh man, I wish I wouldn't have known before this. Now I'm really stressed.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for computers to be able to communicate with animals.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
I think that's gonna happen pretty soon. I just started reading another book called Semi-Human, and it's kind of scary. It's about the rise of the robot generation in society. So I read a lot too.
Who's it by?
I read science fiction because I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I saw Back to the Future recently, and they had Zoom on there, and it was like people were talking about the flying cars, but like we have video chat now. We weren't even thinking about it before.
A piece of trivia from that show is they said never go to 2020.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He said never go to 2020. I wonder why. I think now we know.
It's weird to me that I think we're over 5 years from the future that they went to. We're like farther than the future holds,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's weird watching like Star Wars movies because like the newer movies are only like 20-ish years from like the original trilogy that was in like the 70s and 80s or whatever. So even these new movies that are coming out like 2016, 2018, like 2020 or whatever, they're still having to try to like use what they thought in the 70s would be futuristic technology. Like
Oh yeah.
Like, I think, like, I remember watching Rogue One, and it was weird that, like, my dad made a joke about it, how, whoever the girl is in the movie, she's running around with this giant, like, cassette-looking thing. It's like a mix between, like, a giant cassette and, like, a lunchbox, and she's, like, running across some, like, space tower to, like, plug it in somewhere, and it's like, that's the technology they thought we would have. Like, they didn't think about, like, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth,
Mm,
that kind of, like,
Yeah.
instant information transfer, like, wasn't an option.
wow.
Wow.
You guys probably are too young to ever have heard of Dick Tracy. You ever hear of him?
I've
Yeah.
heard of him, but I haven't
Comic,
heard him.
He was a
comic.
cartoon character that had a radio wristwatch, and that was really far out at the time. Now
Didn't Seth,
that's
Oh,
didn't Seth Rogen play him in a movie or something?
yes, he did. Yeah, long time ago. Yeah, but they had wristwatch
What is it called?
radios.
Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy.
I was
Yeah.
so
Dick Tracy.
wrong. I did not. That's not who I thought that was.
So there's so much stuff that science fiction has said was going to come along that has. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
I think so. I think I like science fiction. It's really good.
My goal is to be around another 10 to 15 years because I want to know where everything is going to go.
Yeah.
What do you
What
think
you-
about the Terminator? You think we're headed towards artificial intelligence fighting?
I think AI is coming up, and we're going to be using it quite a lot more. Mainly because we've got AI in our cars right now. So when you consider that in 1943, those cards that you open up at the card store that play music and songs and stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There's more computer power in that card than existed in the entire world in 1943.
Whoa.
That's pretty crazy.
That's just
Kind
that's
of like
it's kind of
like more computer power in your cell phone than the original spaceship that went to the moon.
Absolutely, there's more computer power in your car than went to the moon. So you have to consider these guys were really courageous when they were going out there less than 64K.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm as soon as you said that, I'm thinking like, dang, those people are some real heroes because they basically got to the moon and back in like a lunchbox. All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
A
A
toaster.
whole lot less.
Smart car.
Yeah. All right. That is crazy.
Yeah, it's totally insane that the amount of technology that has increased since the 40s.
Yeah.
Well, I was always fascinated by wireless, and back in I guess it was the early 50s, I bought a small portable radio. They didn't have them. It used sub-miniature tubes. But I think that the thing that's really changed the technology, of course, is the integrated circuit. First the transistor, and then the integrated circuit, which has been just increasing in bytes so rapidly that that's what's really changed the science today.
Oh, absolutely. When you take a look at the first ultrasound machine that I used, it would take a 6-foot wall and be about 6 foot tall and weighed 485 pounds. About 2 days ago, I did an echo on a 9-pound laptop that has almost 100 times more sophistication than I was using. I could only take 3 pictures when I first started. Now I'm taking 27 and 20 and 38 of different aspects of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On a 9-pound laptop. So that's how much the miniaturization and the progress has been taking place since 71.
And with all that progress, we still haven't found a vaccination yet for this COVID.
And we haven't found out how to make sure that everybody gets to vote either, which just staggers my mind too.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I've used the IV finder. That thing is so cool. Even I don't think the IV finder has to do with ultrasound, but yeah, no, we still have people still hungry in a rich country. It's terrible. Do.
Totally agree. I was fascinated when I was listening to your conversations before. There's so much going on that I just don't think we really appreciate all that we have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Being grateful.
Well,
And
science is
conspiracy.
really moving ahead. I don't know about social issues, but science is certainly moving ahead rapidly.
Yeah.
I think there you've got the problem. Science has
Right.
outstripped the social issues.
Yeah. I think we gotten too big for our britches. Like, we're human and we have human issues to worry about throughout a lifetime. But then science has just like really just gone way beyond that. Like, we don't even like it's just I don't know. It's just it doesn't add up. Like, there's stuff that you have to live through and understand, like being grateful and having gratitude. I don't think if you don't have that, but yet you have all this science, it kind of makes you just getting a loaded gun, yeah, that you don't know how to handle. I think.
What's it going to be like, which I think is going to happen in the future, when you'll have a device that you'll be able to read other people's thoughts?
Yeah, just beware. They
You
can
can
read
already
yours.
do that, Grandpa.
Twitter.
I think what blows my mind is we're born before everything that like this digital age, and so you've experienced both. I don't know what life is like outside of a screen, or if I do, it's been like a very tiny fraction. I think it was like when I was 3 years old that I was like sitting on a and like we're right on the edge of like kids now will never know what it's like to not have a smartphone in their pocket their entire life, and like we're the last that has not been like bombarded with computers or sort of like hooked into a social media stratosphere, yeah.
Yeah, I'm terribly excited for the next generation and the generation after that, because I've got 17 grandchildren and 8 great grandchildren. So
look at
I'm
you.
excited to see what they're going to do.
And a 40-man raid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, go ahead, Grandpa. All right. Okay.
Oh, Grandpa's audio.
I was gonna say that I was just thinking earlier today that it's gonna be my dad hates like his picture being taken and stuff like that, and I just thinking like this is the first generation, or just my generation and the generations ahead of time are just gonna be all over the internet. Like, almost everything that I do is all being like categorized, and people can just watch it. Like, my great grandkids can see me on a podcast right now. They'll see this, and then it's just so weird just to think about that. Like, they'll be able to see all of it, like everything from like my very first post on something till like they get to see my whole life and the ins and outs, and when I have my mental breakdown or whatnot. It's kind of weird. It's weird, because I don't know when my dad had a mental breakdown, but I'm sure he had one.
I kind of like that in a way too, because like I don't know, like I had friends in high school who like they have like really big families and like really long like family lines. Like they know their grandma and like their great grandma and their great great grandma, they have like a heritage. And like a lot of families don't have that. A lot of like Black families especially don't have that like kind of long lineage or long heritage that they can look back to, but like people will have that a couple decades from now of us.
It's pretty cool.
It's exciting to look back and see where your ancestors came from and what they did, and how they reacted to certain aspects of life.
I better make a good meme. I won't be remembered.
Just in meme form. Hey, Grandpa, we can't hear you.
And you're not hearing me?
I can hear you on the Zoom. Can I just? What if I just hold my?
No, not on the clean feed. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Can I just? Maybe I can just hold my tablet up to the microphone and we can just wrap the show. like
Yeah, I
this.
think that's
Okay.
best. Let's say our goodbyes. Yeah, till next time.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Let's. You
Till
wanna.
next time.
you wanna sing your weekly ballad to let us out?
Who are you talking to?
You, Grandpa.
No, that's all right. Not today.
Okay, no problem. No problem. I'll sing. What do you want me to sing, Grandpa?
Pick something that you like and know.
You like what? Give me a Sinatra song.
My way.
I got it my way. And that's our show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in again to the Grandpa and Chill podcast. Thank you so much to all our guests, including Joe. I really appreciate you coming on. We'll absolutely
Thank you.
Warcraft actor and otherwise life. It's been super cool to talk to you. I would love to thank Phines, always being an amazing part of the show, and our amazing producer Sierra. Thank you so much. This week has been crazy with me adding new technology, but I super appreciate it. And then Grandpa, I love you.
Love you, Brandon. Hope we'll be able to get together pretty soon.
Yeah, I know, man. For real. Was that all right? Did I do any last thoughts,
Oh, great.
anybody?
You do a great job, Brandon.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's good.
And Finest and Sierra, you're wonderful.
Thank you. It's a
Yeah, thank you.
squad. It's all just team
Squad.
building.
Team building.
I'm gonna make some Power
Good night,
Rangers fan
everybody.
art of us. Have a good night. And we're out.
Podcasting with Grandpa Bart and Rosie, always on his shoulder. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Grandpa and Chill is brought to you by your hosts, Brandon Fox, Bart Frank, and Finest Jackson. Our producer is Sierra Doss. You can find episodes old and new on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the show, and follow us on Twitter for behind-the-scenes moments you can't get anywhere else.